All right, guys. Paul Glasgow here. What is that? Kind of. Oh, that's that. It looks like it's blurry on the screen. Sorry, guys. Paul Glasgow here, Legally Armed America. This is our Friday night news live stream, whatever you want to call it. I'm pulling some stuff up on my computer right now to see if we have any actual news. Slow gun week in terms of actual news out there. And man, talk about slow. How about my internet connection? Look how slow this is. In the meantime, while I'm waiting on this to pull up, let me see if I can pull up comments so that we can do our obligatory entrance into the room. So I'll give a shout out to you guys, our good friends out there that are hanging out with us. Let me prop up the old iPad here so I can keep track of that. All right. Every time I get on here, my freaking nose itches. All right, guys, let's see. We've got Archangel in the room. Welcome again. Keith Gregory, Zach Briggs, Adam Brock. Welcome, guys. Hugh Annan, Richard Portella, Willie Dick, Ashley Lecomte, liberal gun owner. Wow. Yeah, you left Trump for this. Ryan Westall, Leon Sherman, Tim Red Feathers, Sniper 021, Meredith Mayhem, Tomahawk M468, Richard Garza. Welcome, everybody. For those of you that have not taken part in this on Friday nights, we typically try to do some Friday night love here. And we go through a little bit of news and we talk to our friends out there that are in the gun community. Let's see, Hugh says, I found the TV station that airs your show online. We'll be watching Sunday morning. Really? I did not realize there was a way to catch it online. That's pretty cool. Email me how to do that because I have people all over asking me how they can watch the show whenever it airs. So, yeah, man, if you have some details, if you could, email me at paul@legallyarmedamerica.com. James Crum is in here. Good evening from Ohio. Very good evening to you. I have some, since you're from Ohio, I need to ask you if you can do some research because we have heard in the gun community of something going on down there involving the SB Tactical or the, I guess, SIG brace is the other way to describe it. And it's some litigation. I think the ATF is suing somebody, or the ATF jacked with somebody, and they're suing the ATF. But it's in Ohio. We can't find any information on that, and we're really trying. We're trying to find something on that, and we simply can't. Let me lower this thing a little bit. So anyway, if you know anything from Ohio, local newspapers or anything that you've heard about, read about, or if you can do some research on some local stuff, man, we'd really appreciate it. I know something's going on. We just can't find it, man. Driving me nuts. Let's see. Yeah, happy Friday to everybody. Let's see. Good job. Tim Red Feather says he just fired his first homemade AR-15. Works like a clock. That's great. Good to hear. Hello from Spokane, Washington. Zach Briggs. Zach. Drink them if you got them. There's so many communist states out there now. I don't even know if you can drink beer online anymore in all these other states. In Louisiana you can. So Louisiana you can do anything if it involves alcohol. So, but I'm just joking. If you got them, drink them. All right. Zach, sorry to hear about. I mean, I'm sure there's great places in Washington State, just like there is in every state, and every state's got its bad places. But man, I hung out with some guys last weekend that are from that Oregon, Washington area right there. Man, being pro-gun and living up there has got to be difficult, especially when you're around some of these larger cities up there. Let's see. Danny Andres Benjamis or Benjamea says, what's my opinion about the new Glock 45? We actually have a video out on that. You can check that out. It's a nice gun. I mean, it's nice. It's one of those kind of things where it's things Glock should have been doing all along. So I don't know why it took them this long and this many generations to actually do what they should have done 3 generations ago. but it's a nice gun. I'm not a gun basher. I don't bash people. I may critique what took somebody so long to get somewhere. I don't call anybody's stuff junk, even if it's junk. Let's see. Adam Brock says, still waiting for M16 Cold War video. Yeah, I am too. Look, I live in Louisiana from probably April until now, usually the end of September, but we've been hot all the way through now. We just had our first, when I call it cool weather, I'm talking about nighttime temperatures of 60s. We've been nighttime temperatures of 70s and daytime temperatures of 90s up until last week. So to do something as involved as the Cold War rifle segments that I was doing, it's too hard to do whenever it's hot because I have to spend 4 or 5 hours out in the sun. You just lose your mojo. You know, you don't want to do anything anymore. You get tired of it. You're like, oh man, and you cut it short. You might, not do everything you should do. So my thing is I'd rather wait until it's time and it feels right to do it, which is now. So I've done all my research on it. I've completed all my research. Man, the M16 has a long history. I know the ones that I put out there had some decent history and some fun history, but god dang, not only does the M16 have a long history to it, but people are so committed to whichever side they fall on. Some people hate the M16, some people love it, especially if you get into that Vietnam War era type of guy. They're very divided on that. So I want to be right. I want to be as right as I can when I put this out. And I'm trying to include as much information as I can so that I satisfy everybody that has likes or dislikes of the M16. So yeah, it's coming. It'll be this fall. Before Christmas, I'll have it. I know that sounds like a long time away, but it's really not. 2 months away. It'll probably take me a week to film it, to be honest with you. And then probably another week to produce it because I have so much data like I did on the other ones where I try to go back and do a lot of research and pull some of those old pictures and old data and put some on-screen data because there's so much that I can't include it all in the video. So what I end up doing is I end up cutting a lot of the stuff that I record and not using it, but trying to utilize it because it's helpful information and going back and putting on-screen pictures and data information below the pictures to try to, give the full story and not leave anything out. So it's a cumbersome process, but it's fun to me. I actually enjoy that. It's more of a project type thing. It's easier, not easier. It's better than banging out just standard videos. It's fun. I like that. Kind of like my caliber wars or caliber throwdown videos that I've been doing. I've already done the 9mm and a 40 caliber. Those are fun to me because they have, some history in them that's interesting. Most people think they know the history of whatever guns and calibers that they like. And I like to dig a little deeper and find some things that might not be quite as well known. I learned a ton. I mean, I don't know all this stuff before I put these videos together. I've had people say, oh, you have this amazing amount of gun knowledge. No, I don't. I have the same gun knowledge as everybody else. I simply just do a buttload of research that gets kind of overwhelming sometime, and I make a ton of notes. I keep books around all the time that I simply make notes in, and that's what I do. I mean, I go back and I collect all my data, and I try to sift through it and find the stuff that's relevant, and I use it. So that's why it's been so long. Yeah, Big Mo says, how about that cold weather we're having? Yeah, it's cold. For me, this is nice. I like it. Thank God for this. Mystery Family is in here. Mystery says, love that Henry with the flag on it behind you. Yeah, my father-in-law collects Henry rifles. He's got all of them. I think the only one he doesn't have is the new 410 that they have out. He's got all the octagonal barrels, the 357s, the 44s. I mean, he's got them all. And I actually went to an NRA show and won the pick of the litter of the main prize. And I got him the one of only 1,100 NRA rifles that happened to be a Henry. And it had all kind of cool scroll work on it and all that good stuff. And I gave it to him for Christmas. And he knew that I liked one of his Henrys, which this one right here has, if you can, I don't know if you can see it right here. Well, duh, I can pull it down. It's actually got All of the military branches on there, all of their insignias, Coast Guard, Air Force, Navy, Army, and Marines. All of those guys are on there. That's all their crests are right here along the stock right here. And of course, it's got the scroll work there with the gold inlays. And I'm not sure exactly what it says, to be honest with you. It's way too small for me to ever read that. I don't know why somebody would make something that small. But Statue of Liberty and Liberty Bell are on this side here. Of course, you can't see that because I'm holding it wrong. And the American flag down here. But anyway, my father-in-law, I told him that I liked this one. And I just told him because I liked it. I saw it in his collection. And that same year that after I gave him his Henry, he gave me this one. This one looks like a 22. It doesn't say. Well, I know it says somewhere on here. I can't see it with my eyes. Here it is. Yeah, it's a 22. Nice rifle right here. Yep. That's one that will always stay with me. Again, I know it was special to my father-in-law, and I'm one of those guys that gets along really well with my father-in-law. He's a big-time gun guy. Raised champion bird dogs for many years, and when I met his wife, he was a big-time hunter. Or when I met my wife, his daughter, he was a big-time hunter, and he and I used to hunt together birds. So good guy, and yeah, he gave me that. It's a special gun to me. I joke with him all the time that when he kicks the bucket, I'm going to get my NRA rifle back. So that I was just loaning it to him until he kicks the bucket. But anyway, he's a good dude. I like my father-in-law. He's a good person. Liberal gun owner says, when should we expect more on your Rock Island testing? Good question. Probably this weekend. Good weather this weekend. I will probably be out there. I did a little filming on it already. That film is in the can right now. What I did is I took one of my Drago bags. Drago is a big supporter of our show. If you don't use Drago bags, I'm not just saying this. I'm kind of pissed because before we got our deal with Drago, I had already spent probably a couple of $100s in Drago bags because they make great gun cases and great backpacks and things like that. I'd already bought some, and these guys sent us this massive box full of stuff. And I'm like, shit, I've already bought most of this stuff. So anyway, I took my Drago bag. I think it was the Defender backpack. I'm pretty sure that's the one that I used. And I put both of my Rock Island Armory 1911s in the bag in different pockets. We've had 3 weeks of rain. I put that thing out in my yard. I've got the video of it. I put the bag out in the yard. It's kind of funny because Drago bags are so good. Here I am, I throw the bag and literally throw it. I mean, we're abusing these guns in our gun bully segment. So I throw the bag out in my backyard. It gets rained on for a couple days. I go out there and open it up, and the freaking inside is dry because the Drago bag is so good at waterproofing the contents that it didn't get wet. I was like, crap, I just wasted 2 days of rain. So I opened up the zipper compartments of both of them to where, and I had to bend them back. And again, it's all in the video. You'll see it. I had to like open them up so the rain would actually fall into them. And the way they were setting in the bags like this, like the slide down in the bottom of the bag. Each one of them was in its own compartment. So the cool thing was they ended up getting good and wet. After the rain stopped, I zipped them up, and of course the sun comes out after that. So then I set them out in the yard in the sun. Now they stayed outside the whole time. So I set these things out in the yard, and you can imagine a bag, a canvas bag like that. Already it was somewhat waterproof because, I mean, it kept the stuff from getting wet. Now I've closed it up with the moisture inside and set it out in the sun. So these things are baking in the sun. 90 degrees outside, 90 plus degrees outside here in Louisiana. And all that water just dries up inside of them on the gun. So I didn't bring the guns up here, but one of them looks perfect. You can't even tell. There's like a slight little blemish on the 45 caliber, and I think the 10 millimeter was in the pocket that held the most water. So it's got up on the muzzle, it's got a little bit around the ring of the muzzle, some rust on there, and the barrel itself has some rust where the port is for the ejection port. So I'll probably take it out tomorrow, shoot it, both of them, take them out to the range, shoot them just to show. Now keep in mind these guns have never been cleaned or lubricated. I know this rust is not going to stop them because it's more surface rust than anything. It's not internal rust, but I'll go shoot them anyway. And then I will take them at that point and go a next step further. It's just trying to do the life cycle of abuse on these guns. Next step is going to be putting them on the floorboard. I know that's not going to do anything, so I'm probably going to simulate getting them dirty by throwing some dirt in them. And just trying to take it a step at a time. I don't want to use the word drag out because I don't want to make it sound like it's boring, because I'm trying to keep this thing fast paced so that when I put a video out there, I don't put people to sleep. But I'm trying to make it to where it's going to be fun, where, you know, I can put a video out every couple of days. Rather than trying to compile all this stuff and spit a video out every 2 weeks, I feel like by putting a short video out every couple of days makes it more fun, and, you know, gives us all something quick, you know, a quick bite, real quick in terms of the whole process. Of course, when I get done with the whole thing, I'll probably compile all the videos together to where if anybody wants to watch it that hasn't been watching each segment, they can see the whole thing of it. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to do some cool stuff. So yeah, expect that probably this weekend. For sure next week I'll be doing some of this. I got some interesting stuff going on next week that we may be including these guns a little bit. Let's see. A couple of guys didn't name earlier. I think I mentioned Adam Brock, Keith Gregory, Johnny Draper, James Crum. Let's see. Let me find. I'm just trying to get you guys taken care of. I mean, if you're talking to me, I want to talk to you. Okay, Zach says, talking about Washington, Spokane is pretty pro Second Amendment, though. That's awesome. I mean, that's good to know. I'm glad we have some of these liberal states that still have some pro Second Amendment conservative people that live in them, because I don't want to, excuse my French, I don't want to can, I'm not going to say the word that I was going to say, I don't want to can any of these states out there. Some are a lost cause that I would never, not even travel in. But, you know, notice how we never have any of these gun shows in some of these real hardcore liberal states, because none of us want to go to them. So let's see real quick. Let me go through a little bit more of y'all stuff. Daniel Waters, hi. Richard Garza, I think I said hi to you. Richard's a Marine, and in '73 we were issued the M16. We called it the Matty Mattel. I've heard it called the Mattel before. I hadn't seen the Matty though. Let's see. Steve O says, "What's up, Louisiana?" Mr. F&H is in the room. Hey, gun people. Sorry you're late. Yeah, you were late, but you're here, right? That's all that matters, right? Citizen soldiers in here. I think that's everything that I probably need to address. Hugh Annan says, check my email. Good. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Navy's birthday is tomorrow. I didn't realize that. Thanks, Keith Greger, for pointing that out. See the can or bottle. I like that. That's funny. Roland Garcia says, beer time. Need to take a drink when you see the can or bottle, meaning my can or bottle. And Ashley Lecomte says, LOL, he killed one already. And then Fresh Fowler says he doesn't drink fast enough for me. All right. I don't want to get drunk on here. I'm just trying to drink a little beer. I do have another one that I brought up here with me. So just not trying to get soaked. But it is a sin to let a beer get hot. I think that's actually in the Bible. Yeah, or just drink away. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and you know what? This is kind of cool. We did this last week. I drank Coors Light last week. Remember, we were in Georgia last week, and we were supposed to do a live stream for you guys from Georgia, from that big Iraq veteran 88-88 shoot last week. Chad and I bought Coors Light And let me tell you, the cool thing was, this was our tribute to Burt Reynolds and Smokey and the Bandit. I love the movie Smokey and the Bandit. I was a kid when that came out. I don't know, was that late 80s? Maybe, I'm sorry, late 70s, maybe 78. I was 10. That was one of my favorite movies of all time. I always wanted to be as cool as the Bandit. You watch it now and it's kind of corny, but it's still very cool. And I mean, Buford T. Justice, what can you say about that guy? That guy stole the show. Bandit was the cool part, but Buford T. Justice was what made that movie as funny as what it was. It wasn't as much a comedy without him. But if you will remember, they were bootlegging Coors Light. They were taking Coors Light to Georgia, where we went last week. And if you remember the final scene, or one of the final scenes, where they went to Atlanta Motor Speedway, and that's where they did their whole thing, celebration, you know, all that good stuff. So what we did as a kind of a tribute to Burt Reynolds passing last month is we took Coors Light to Georgia last week. Kind of and anyway, it's kind of a corny thing, but I was like, that's kind of cool, you know. It's funny how everybody really forgets that that's where they were going, and that's what they took. They took Coors Light. So yeah, it was kind of cool. Let's see. Let me scroll through here. All right, guys. I think. Oh yeah, Big Mo says, but was cool. Cannonball Run. Cannonball Run was a good movie. Cannonball Run, oddly enough, I mean, obviously it wasn't as successful as Smokey and the Bandit, but God, Cannonball Run was a funny movie. They had big time star power in Cannonball Run, big time, which is another reason why I'm surprised they don't replay the heck out of it. That was an awesome movie. You never, ever catch reruns of that. They never play that show. There's 6,000 cable channels and nobody ever plays that. I don't understand why. Maybe they would have to pay too much money in royalties. Maybe that's why. I mean, I'm guessing that could be why. That there's too many people, you know, the Dean Martins and all those guys that they would, or his family, of course. All those guys would have to, Roger Moore, they'd all have to get a cut. So is that why? I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how that crap works, but yeah, that was a great show. Came out around that same time. I'm guessing a little bit after that. Anyway, enough about the movies. We had a really good time last week, y'all. Let me tell y'all, the reason why we did not do our live stream from there is because our signal was garbage. It was junk. Where we went was northeast of Atlanta, and it was literally a stone's throw from the South Carolina border. In fact, we actually stayed the night in South Carolina. That's how close we were. I mean, the shoot was in Georgia, but right across the border here, we stayed in South Carolina for the night. So that's how far away we were. And man, look, I complain about my coverage here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Dude, we got it made here with the coverage that we have. My phone has LTE. I was lucky to get 1 bar of 3G. And I think it's bull crap because I don't think it was 1 bar of 3G. I'm pretty sure it was whatever that Express is, or whatever the bootleg. I'm surprised I didn't hear my phone dialing up, because it was like, come on, man, I could not download emails. There was no way I was streaming any video from there. I tried to do a live stream. That was South Carolina, where I was trying to do, wanted to do the live stream to you guys last Friday night. The next day in Georgia, a little bit better signal. I think it was 1 bar of LTE. I couldn't get a live stream going. I think it uploaded maybe 5 seconds of me walking with all the gunshots behind me, and then it just crapped out on me. So yeah, streaming from there was a no-go. I would be so frustrated. I couldn't do the stuff that I do here if I lived over there. I'd be so frustrated if I lived over there. I would have to move. I mean, that is a good enough reason to move. I mean, if you're in these backwoods areas that already don't have anything, I mean, think about this. You already got nothing. I mean, there's tweakers and meth heads that walking along the sides of the road. There's hardly any homes out there. It's out in the middle of nowhere. You got to drive 45 minutes to get anywhere, and then you don't have internet. I mean, what do you have? No wonder they're meth heads over there. I'm not condoning that, but no wonder they're freaking meth heads and tweakers. There's nothing to do. You got no internet, so they go make meth, I guess. So, yeah, and I'm speaking from experience. There's tweakers over there. Where we stayed out on a lake, there's tweakers that just rummage around out there. A couple of days we saw groceries and crap like that all sprawled out in the street. So, yeah, it was different. It was different. It was cool though, man. It was neat because I'm not a fanboy, guys. I mean, y'all probably know that already. I don't. If there's a popular person around that I'm a fan of, I don't interject myself into what they're doing because I respect people's private time, and truly famous people don't get much private time. I'm talking about real famous people. I'm not talking about YouTube guys. Truly famous people have very little, if any, private time. And when they leave and go out with their families or whatever, when I have run into them before, I used to do a lot of stuff in the fight business, MMA, a lot of UFC stuff. We were actually one of the first companies back in 2007 to actually stream MMA fighting online. I know it seems like it's a no-brainer now because everybody has a smart device and they just simply do it. But back then it wasn't like that. Back then you had to have a computer, you ran it through this, you put all your microphones into here, the stuff got coded, you sent it out to a server, that server had to hand it off to here, and then you were lucky if it ever got online and actually worked properly because there were so many handoffs and a lot of data could be lost very easily. But we used to do that. We used to stream boxing matches, MMA, rock concerts. Whether you're a fan or not, the metal band Five Finger Death Punch, we actually in 2007 streamed their CD release party from Hollywood, California, live when they released The Way of the Fist. We were the company that did it. It may be online somewhere, I don't know. But that was kind of cool. That was us that did that. I've been in Nicaragua for fights. I've been to London for fights. So we used to do a lot of that stuff. And that was our thing, back then. I don't even know where I'm going with that now. Now I've lost my train of thought because I'm thinking back to all the cool stuff that we did. But yeah, it was neat. I mean, maybe one of you guys can remind me where the hell I was going with that. Man, I'm really thinking back. Some of the stuff that we did some pretty cool stuff, man. I know what I was saying about the being a fanboy. I've hung out with the guys, not only those guys in Five Finger Death Punch, but a bunch of other guys out there on Hollywood Strip or Sunset Strip in Hollywood. Don King, I've hung out with Don King. So my point is, I've run around with some guys that have some notoriety before. I never try to approach them as a fan because I feel like, number one, that lowers you to a certain level. Not saying that it's not good to be a fan, but when somebody's doing their job, like doing their business, and you ask them for an autograph right in the middle of them doing their work, that's disrespectful in my eyes because you're interjecting yourself saying I'm more important than what you're doing to make your money. Those people are making their money. So I've always tried to stay away from people like that. But we went to this shoot, and what was cool was all the top YouTube guys were out there. Of course, Iraq Veteran 8888, he's got to be the top guy. The dude's got 2 million subscribers on YouTube. And it's funny how you see a lot of these YouTube guys out there that don't want to help the smaller guys. I feel like we're kind of in the middle. When we were really, really small, nobody gave us the time of day. Nobody would talk to us. I would send people emails or messages or questions, and I would compliment them on what they did, and literally never heard back from a single one, not once. So it was obvious to me that those guys were very protective of their fan base. And I say fan base because, I mean, it's freaking YouTube. It's not like you got real fans. I mean, this is I call you guys my friends because I look at it more like we're buddies. It's not. I'm just as much a fan as you guys. I mean, you guys. I could follow what you were doing if you were putting videos out there and be just as content. But these guys, a lot of these guys out there don't see it like that. And I don't understand their thinking, because why would they think that if you help me, it's not like your fan or your follower is going to suddenly stop watching you and now start watching me exclusively and never watch you again. It doesn't work like that. If I follow 2 gun guys and I find a third one, now I follow 3. If I find a 4th one, now I follow 4. It's not like I eliminate one to follow because I found a new guy that does what we do. But that's not how those guys look at it. A lot of those guys are very protective of what they've done, and they've busted their ass to get there. Don't get me wrong. Anyway, my point is, I never approached Chad or Eric of Iraq Veteran. Actually, Chad, I like Chad's stuff because Chad is really good with ballistic stuff. He's kind of their editor and behind the scenes guy, and he does. I enjoy his posts better than I do Eric's, the main guy, because his is more informative. Again, it's more detail oriented. So they were there, of course. I did see James Yeager was there. Whether or not you like James, I don't know James, so I don't dislike or like him. I didn't talk to him. But 2 guys that I actually follow were there, and I had never met before. Most of the guys in the gun community are all up in that east area, like from Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, up in there, and even over into Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky. I'm down here in Louisiana, so we don't run into these guys. So 2 of the guys that I actually do follow, I like Mr. Guns and Gear. I've always followed that guy, and Such 00, or Such is what I call him. Those 2 guys make really good quality videos. And not only do I like them because of the quality of their videos, they come across on their videos as being humble, nice, everyday guys. Even though I know Mr. Guns and Gear was in the military, but Such reminds me of a guy I would hang out with, because he seems like just a regular, ordinary guy that just has an affinity for weapons, and he understands them, knows how they work, doesn't fake it, doesn't try to act like some kind of a badass. I mean, he's just a good guy. Anyway, I got to meet those 2 guys, and one of them approached me because he'd watched our videos. That was pretty flattering to me. The other one, I saw him in a booth behind where I was standing, and I went up and approached him. But it was cool because one of them even told me, "Hey man, I watch all your videos. I like your stuff." And I was like, "Hey, what a surprise! I'll watch all your videos. I like your stuff." So it was neat to be able to talk to those guys and see how approachable they are, nice guys. Again, I don't consider myself a fanboy, so it wasn't like I wanted to hang out with them and become best buddies and get an autograph. But the fact that they didn't act like something that they weren't, because some of these guys think they are something. Some of these guys, I've been at SHOT Show and crossed paths with some of these guys. They think they're freaking rock stars, and they're not. I mean, let's call it for what it is. I mean, you upload videos on YouTube, I don't care if you're the best gun guy. You are still just a guy who uploads videos on YouTube. You should never act better than anybody else or super, super special, because we're all the same. So anyway, it's entertaining to me because I'm a real person. I'm a down-to-earth person. And I guess I have awareness better than other people do, because I see that stuff pretty quick. I see when somebody's being a phony, and there's a bunch of them out there, guys. I'll never say who they are. I'll never give you my opinion on the guys out there that I think are full of it. But some of your top YouTubers are like that. But I got to say, again, if you've ever met, especially Such, the guy's a nice guy, man. He's a super dude. Very nice. His daughter was there. He's starting to incorporate his daughter into his videos a little bit. That's kind of cool. When I asked him about it, because I'd seen some of his videos with his daughter in it. I think she left where she was working or something and started working with him. So that's kind of cool, kind of keeping it in the family, doing some family stuff there. I think that's neat. I don't know where those guys are out of, but I'm just assuming they're all from that area. I think that's where most of those guys are even from. I know there's some out on the West Coast, but it's funny because we're like out. I don't know anyone that's down here in Louisiana or even Texas that does this kind of thing. It's sad because I mean I wish there was some people down here that did this kind of stuff. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. It was neat. Let's see. Let me get. I'm trying to find my news here. If I have any news. Let me look here real quick. I'm on AmmoLand site real quick. Some stuff that I saw earlier. Yeah, here's something that surprised me. I saw this earlier. Let me check the details on this. Make sure I'm right on this, because yeah, it looks like it. Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 38, Crimson Trace, pop-ups. 38 special, $288. How is that possible? Brownells has a sale on a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 38 revolver with a Crimson Trace laser grip and 38 special for just $288, including shipping with the coupon code MEQ. I don't know what those things run for regularly, but dude, $288 for anything Smith & Wesson. I'm not saying they're the greatest gun out there, but it's a well-known name brand. $288. Let's see. It doesn't say anything else about it. Man, I don't need or want one, but good God, $288. All right, I'm just sitting here thinking that blows me away. That's cheap, man. Go to AmmoLand, and check it out. The story's on there if you guys want to take a look at it. $288. That's pretty impressive to me. I did see where Canik came out with the TP9, I guess SF. I see the ad here is what reminded me of it. What they did is they kind of came out with a very similar gun in that same modular series that the government had for the pistol competition. I don't know if they were part of it. I don't think they were. Pretty sure they weren't. But it's like they came out with their own version of that style of gun. Sweet looking gun. I've got a Canik and I've never run it. I haven't run it like a torture test, so I don't know if it will last. But it's a good looking gun and it works. The thing works. 9mm is what I have. Let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. All right, there's not much going on in the news world, guys. Not much at all. My gosh. Things are picking up, though, in the gun world. I mean, summers are always slow. This is an extremely slow summer because the gun business is already kind of down, but things are picking up because we're moving into duck and deer season, hunting season, period. So we're going to start seeing things pick up, new models of things starting to come out. Yeah, it's freaking dead on here. I'm sitting here looking at an article right here, speaking of things being down. The NICS checks remain high in September. More carry permits, lower gun sales. September 2018 had 1,956,681 NICS checks. Wow. September 2017 had 1,967,000. So it looks like, 10,000 less this year versus last year, which last year was, another slow year because of the 2016 election had made 17 a relatively slow year. So it's trickling down a little bit, but still 1.9 million. You know what? That's not that far off of the record, actually. September, go figure. September 2016 was the record, 2 months before the election where everybody thought Hillary was going to win. That set the record, the all-time record, at 1,992,000. Almost 2 million NICS checks were done. So not far off. I mean, honestly, 40,000 purchases. I'm sorry, not purchases. They count them as NICS checks. 40,000 NICS checks fewer this month than the record, the all-time record set 2 years ago. So I guess that's not so bad. There's less than a 2% difference in the total NICS checks numbers for the last 3 Septembers. So it's really not down. That's not down much. That's got to be beaten as several of the Septembers that happened during the Obama administration. Retailers are reporting the sales of firearms have fallen. How are the high NICS numbers and lower firearm sales reconciled? The answer can be found by digging deeply into the FBI reports and NICS numbers for state and type. While total NICS numbers remain high, the number of NICS numbers used for gun permits and for permit rechecks has become a larger percentage of the total. Permit checks and rechecks were 41% of all NICS in September 2016. Okay. Rechecks are displayed in the FBI figures starting in June of 2016. So rechecks, it sounds like there's some delays and probably some denials. And the rechecks kept those numbers up because they're saying the NICS checks are not at the height and the level of the actual purchases. The purchases went down, but the NICS checks stayed up. Permit and permit rechecks are 43% of all NICS. Here we go. Permit and permit rechecks are 43% of all NICS in September 2017. Permit and permit rechecks are 50% of all NICS in September 2018. So we had 7% more of the rechecks this year than last year, and that probably closed that gap and made that what it is. Wow. Digging into state data, just 2 states, Illinois and Kentucky, account for 60% of all permit and permit rechecks for September. Kentucky checks all carry permits for the state every month, resulting in September permits checks of 393,000. Illinois lists 189,000 permit rechecks for the same month. See, what they're saying, guys, is like in Louisiana, if you have a permit, not a lifetime permit, but if you have an actual concealed carry permit, I know there's other types of permits. I'm just telling you in terms of what type of permits we have. I have a concealed carry permit, and it's a 5-year permit. You can get them for, I think, 2 years or 5 years, or maybe it's 3 years and 5 years. And then you can get a lifetime. However, if you get a lifetime permit, you cannot use your permit to purchase a gun. Now, no matter what, you have to fill out a Form 4473, your standard background check. So anytime I buy a gun or transfer one, I still have to fill out a background check. However, they don't have to call it in. They don't call it into the NICS system. They just keep it on record because I have my permit. I hand them my permit with my driver's license whenever I purchase a gun, and they just simply take the 4473, that background check that I just filled out, put it on file, take my concealed carry permit information, put it on there as well, and they file it away. If you had a lifetime, paid for the lifetime, the extra money for the lifetime, the problem is, even though you don't have to renew and get a new concealed carry permit, you have to fill out a 4473 and they have to call that in. Because once your lifetime, you're never getting another FBI and state police background check done when you get your renewal on your new carry permit, because it's lifetime. So there's no additional checks after you pay for that lifetime. So once you do that, you're not, if you robbed a bank or did something else that would make you not eligible to have a permit or buy a gun, it wouldn't show up if you were a lifetime. So lifetime concealed carry permit holders do have to still fill one out and have it turned into the NICS system, called in. I don't have to have mine called in. So that was the advantage. I was going to get the lifetime a couple of years ago when I renewed, but I was like, oh man, when I found that out, I was like, I would rather save my time and not have to wait and not run the risk. That's the biggest thing, not run the risk of somebody having a problem with me somewhere at some point. Not that I'm popular, but it's known that I have what I have. and some of my videos might aggravate a couple of lefties out there. And at some point, they're going to be in power again. I know that sounds kind of paranoid, but it is what it is. I mean, you get put on a list, you get put on a list. So I felt like the money that I have to pay every 5 years to continue to renew my concealed carry weapons permit is still better than having a background check run on me every single time I go to purchase a gun. So that's what they're talking about here, that these other states like Kentucky and Illinois, even if you have a permit, they're still running that 4473 is still being run through the NICS system, regardless of whether or not you have a permit, that in other states would prevent you from having that actual background check being run at that time. So interesting. October sales are historically a little higher than September because of the hunting seasons, of course, while November and December are historically the highest months of the year. Yeah, that's really deep into hunting season when people realize they bought the wrong gun or they need a better gun or they want to, somebody gets turned on to hunting that wasn't into hunting already. And you have the holidays on top of that, you know, Christmas gifts and whatnot. So November, December are historically pretty heavy months. Countering that trend is a failing Mueller investigation, an invigorated Trump administration, and the installation of Judge Kavanaugh as Justice Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. All right. Interesting. That's pretty cool. Am I the only one out here that wishes Hillary Clinton would just freaking go away? God, she's like freaking herpes. She will not go away. You know, I've never liked her. I've always hated her. Even when Bill was in office, I always used to say that Hillary was the one really running the country, not Bill. Bill was just trying to get a little piece of ass. I mean, oh my God, she will not go away. She just won't go away. She's one of the most unlikable human beings on the planet. And she absolutely will not go away. Jeez. Savage has an MSR-15 competition rifle. That's kind of cool. Okay. I'm pretty much out of stuff, out of news. I don't have anything else. I'm going to scroll through y'all's stuff like I try to do. See if I can't find some of your questions in there. Wow, I didn't know this. Keith Gregory says, in Kentucky, if you have a CCW permit, they run a background check on you every 30 days. Interesting. I'm sure more states do that. I'm not aware of what states and how often they do that, but good to know there. Hugh Hannon says, in Canada, they run a criminal check on me every day because I have a license to buy long guns. Wow. What a freaking waste of time, right? My gosh. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Daryl says, what happened to Vince Foster's records that were taken to her for inspection, paper shredder? All I know is Vince Foster allegedly shot himself, committed suicide, and he fell uphill. Vince Foster was standing on a hill when he allegedly shot himself, and instead of shooting himself in the head twice, 3 times, however many times he did it, instead of falling downhill where gravity would have taken him, Vince Foster shot himself and he fell up the hill. Not just falling like this, he literally, his body went up the hill. Interesting when you kill yourself in Arkansas, how the laws of gravity don't necessarily apply to you. Fun with Guns says, saw your post on Facebook. Paul, do we have 22 TCM vids to look forward to? Yes, I'm almost done with it. We have a really cool 22 TCM / 9mm conversion package that Rock Island Armory sent to me that I'm doing a video on, and had a lot of fun today shooting it. So I'm in the process of putting it out now. I'm working on it, and it was a lot of fun. Actually, let me see here if I can show you guys this pretty cool video. I shot a pretty neat video today with my drone. I have a new drone, and it's got the ability to do some pretty cool stuff. All right, let me see here. I don't know if you guys can see this. Yeah, you can. You see it pretty good, actually. That's me right there, of course. And check this video out. That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. That's my drone did that. So yeah, that's going to be the tail end of the video for the Rock Island Armory 22 TCM. I have one of their first guns, 22 TCMs that they put out. I have one, and it's the one I have or had, the very early one. It's kind of cheap, not the greatest quality. They just put it out like pretty quick. They didn't have their deal with VZ grips yet, so there weren't G10 grips. They were literally plastic grips, not even wood grips, and they weren't standard 1911 grips. They had a funny little piece in the front, so you couldn't just put 1911 grips on it, although it was by all other accounts a full-blown 1911. Time has passed, and now they have updated it to the point where everything is 1911 about it now, so it's perfect. I mean, it really is perfect. So compared to what I had, the old 22 TCM that I had from 3 or 4 years ago, this thing's light years ahead of it. It might have been longer than that, 5 or 6 years most likely. So yeah, it's neat, man. What a fun gun to shoot, man. I was glad that I didn't blow up all of my rounds either, because I was like, damn, I hope I can hold on to some of these, because I got a bunch of them from Rock Island. I was hoping I didn't shoot them all so that I could have some to go play with too. So yeah, I did maintain about another 80 to 100 rounds that I can go shoot. Drink them if you got them, guys. Yes, Liberal Gun Owner says, you ever inside waistband a 1911? Actually, yes. I used to only carry a 1911. And I inside waistband all the time. It's all I ever carried. I actually have an older Kimber, back when Kimber made really good guns. Full-size 1911 that looks like crap. It's their Covert edition. Their Covert is a little bit different now. I think their Covert is kind of a digital gray camo, gray and black. The one I had was tan and green, and it's all beat up looking. It looks terrible. But that's all I used to carry. If you guys will remember, during the Obama administration, and this is literally why I started carrying polymer guns with higher round counts. You remember the knockout game? Remember that was the big deal back then, that it was cool for these gangs and these groups of thugs to seek out people, almost always white people, because they would laugh and yell, you know, white boy and white people. So people became targets, you know, white people did. And again, I'm not making this a race thing. I mean, you can go back and look, and these groups were seeking out white people to just hit, you know. A white person would walk by on the street, and these guys would pass them, the group, and then they'd turn around and go back, and they'd just punch the person, sucker punch them, without them, you know, having any idea that they were even going to get hit, not even having a chance to defend themselves. And while that is a very very long shot for that to ever occur down here in South Louisiana because you'll get shot. It's still a possibility. And I mean, between my wife and my son, I wasn't going to let that happen. So I started carrying full size polymer guns at that point. I was carrying at the time, I went from carrying a full size 1911 that had 8 rounds in it to carrying a full size Glock that would have a 17 plus 1 round in it. I felt like I wanted to have as many rounds as I could because the way these thugs were, these mobs were going out there. I'm using the word mob because we're not supposed to use it now, so I'm going to start using it more. What these mobs were doing, 4, 5, 6 guys would punch one person. And I'm thinking, I'm doing the math in my head. You know, statistically speaking, when a police officer or anybody else that's in a high stress situation has to draw their weapon and shoot it when they're actually physically being attacked. I don't mean running a USPSA match. I'm talking about they're being attacked. You know, they miss 40, 50% of their shots. Their first 2 shots are statistically known as being dead shots because they don't ever hit anything. Not their intended targets. So my thing was, all right, I've got a 1911 with only 8 rounds in it. My first 2 rounds are going to be garbage no matter what. That leaves me with 6 bullets. I got 5 guys who were trying to attack me. I can't miss any of them. You know what I mean? You got to hit them all. Now, granted, most thugs, even though they're thugs, they're cowards. If they see a gun, they're probably going to run. But there's the outside chance they don't run. And if I put a piece of hot lead in 1 or 2 of their friends, the other ones are probably going to run. But there's no guarantee they're going to run. So that means I have to count on hitting every single one of them with the rounds that I have in my gun. I can reload kind of fast, but not fast enough to carry a whole bunch of magazines and be continuously popping 8 rounds in there. But if 5 guys attack me and I have 17 plus 1 round, I have 18 rounds, I'm going to drop every single one of them. And whenever the police get there, I'm going to be the one standing on the phone calling for the ambulance, my attorney, whoever else. So I don't carry 1911s anymore. And since then, I have not carried a 1911. In all honesty, I have not. If you go back and look at the date and the time frame when all of that knockout game started becoming popular and people were getting, I'm talking about people getting knocked out on their feet, standing up and falling down, not even bracing themselves, hands at their side, and falling down, their heads are hitting on the ground like that. I mean, people were getting brain damage from this stuff. It's not like these guys had a fighting chance. These people were getting knocked out, falling flat on their heads and hitting their heads on curbs and all kinds of other stuff. That wasn't happening to me. I have decent situational awareness already. My head's kind of always on a swivel. My thing was, I just didn't have enough rounds. Carrying 8 was not comfortable to me. And I seriously, that is honestly, and God's is my witness, that's when I stopped carrying a full-size 1911 and started carrying a full-size polymer gun. Now, I don't carry a full-size polymer gun every day now. Today, I've got, because it's still relatively hot down here, I have my my HK VP9 SK. So, still I have a little bit more rounds than 1911 would be. But as it cools down a little bit more down here, I'll be carrying a full size. I'll carry either a Glock 19, or VP9, maybe a SIG P320, a Walther. You know, I'll carry something that has a, substantial amount of rounds, anywhere from 15 rounds on up I'll be carrying. So I feel more comfortable with that now. I don't have the room to hide magazines on my belt. I just don't. And that's just, it is inconvenient. I don't ever expect to have to shoot my gun. So carrying extra magazines, I don't want to have that extra amount of baggage. So actually having it in my carry gun is a benefit to me. So I don't have to change magazines. Now, in my vehicle, I have additional magazines in case everything ever, happened where I needed more rounds. But as far as on my person, I feel like, honestly, guys, you're going to be in a full-blown shootout if you need more than 18 rounds on any given day. If somebody's attacking you, and you need more than 18 rounds, you're either a really, really awful shot or there's a lot of people that are attacking you, a lot. And I don't ever want to put myself in that kind of position. Again, situational awareness is more than just seeing who you need to shoot. It's also, if you're outnumbered, get out. Get out of there. That's part of situational awareness. You can't fight everybody off. You get to a situation where you feel like you're just so overwhelmed that you can't handle the situation. Don't go any farther. There's no shame in retreating to, be there another day. So you guys know what I mean. I mean, you guys are on the same page as me. I know that. I need to get out of here because it's 8:01. I know you guys do too. I'm gonna go through y'all's comments when I get off of here because I love reading you guys' comments. Yeah, I mean, I can sit here and watch read y'all's comments all day. I really enjoy that. Okay, Richard Portella says, before I go, please let us know how to watch your TV show after you check your email. I will, Richard. What I may do, I may post something online. I'm trying to think of how to get it to all of our YouTube people because there's no really way to post something like that. Maybe tomorrow I'll shoot like a really short video on how to watch it, on where the link is and all that, and I'll post that so that you guys will actually get a notification for that. But I'm going to get out of here, guys. I have some things to do. I actually have that Rock Island Armory video that I need to try to wrap up tonight. And I have a 9-year-old boy that I got to bathe and put to bed downstairs too. So I have that. Guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Y'all know I do. I mean, I always look forward to hanging out with you guys on Friday nights. I wish there was a way that we could actually hang out together because I think we'd all probably like to drink a couple of beers and shoot the bull. But clearly we have, as far away as Washington, I know we've got some folks down in Florida and all spaces in between. We're scattered all over the country, which is a beautiful thing. I'm glad that we are. And always... happy to see you guys. Enjoy the weekend. It looks like there's no really, really nasty weather now that this Michael is out of here. Those of you guys on the East Coast, prayers for you and your families and all that good stuff. I know that you guys have been through a lot in the last couple of months. I know the feeling. Louisiana, we've had our share. We have been so lucky this year. Even though we've had 3 weeks of rain here lately, it's just rain. We can handle that. Trees aren't falling because the ground's too wet. So we've been lucky. Our thoughts and prayers are definitely going out to you guys that are having to suffer through all this stuff. And we wish you guys the best. We'll see you guys next week. Very cool videos coming up this week, guys. If you don't have a chance, you're going to miss out because I got some neat stuff that I'll be uploading. Again, by tomorrow, if not tonight, I'll have that Rock Island Armory video out and a couple other pretty cool videos that are going to be out too. So again, thanks, guys. Look forward to it. Shoot straight. Have fun. Be safe this weekend. Please go to the range if you have a chance to. Teach a young person how to shoot. Teach them some gun safety and some responsibility. If you know an old person that used to like to shoot and they haven't been to the range lately, it's probably because they don't feel safe going by themselves. If you can, try to find an older person and ask them, hey, you want to go to the range? You might be surprised. They might take you up on it. I know whenever I get really old, I'm going to hope one of you guys that are younger than me will invite me to the range. I don't have that much longer to go. But, by myself, I might not feel quite as safe doing it. So, yeah, if you know an old person that has an affinity for guns or a person that wants to defend themselves, take an older person and maybe introduce them to guns. And, from a self-defense standpoint, unless they're crazy, rubbing peanut butter in their hair or something like that, you're never too old to be introduced to guns and self-defense, right? Have a good weekend, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks again.